1925 until January 19th, 1949.
Wow.
So, some of you were alive when he was alive. Fact. Maybe more than half. Maybe about half. Maybe about half. So you could have met him. The hot Georgia sun beat down on his head. Charlie trudged down the railroad tracks, following his mother. "Mama, I'm tired," he whined. Dust from the road came up to sting his eyes, and Charlie kept his head down. Suddenly his mother stopped. "Charlie," she whispered, "look up there. See that man?" Charlie's head snapped up. "That man up there, Mama? What about him?" he questioned. "Charlie, that's your father," his mother answered simply. She stared a moment longer at the white man and then kept on walking. Charlie's mind was spinning. He had heard the stories people had whispered about his father, and he had often wondered what his father looked like. His mother had been only 14 years old when Charlie was born. At the time, she had been a house slave on the Jones plantation, and his father was the teenage son of the white plantation owner. The wealthy boy had been ashamed to have a son by a black slave girl, and he left to go to Europe for a year. Charlie lifted his head high and squared his thin shoulders. His father might have been ashamed of his mother, but he was not. If he were going to be ashamed of any blood in him, it was not going to be his mother's blood. She worked hard to take care of him. He remembered hearing his mother pray for him, that he would take the way that was right. He was proud of his mother. A lot of the blacks who had been freed at the end of the Civil War wandered around, not knowing what to do. Some of these wanderers were called vagrants and were forced to be indentured servants to the whites. Everywhere there were blacks living with little or no money, little food, and future. Many could not read or write and had no incentive to get a better life. Charlie's mother was able to get a job as a cook at a boarding house, and everyone there loved Charlie, or Red, as they called the young boy with reddish hair. "Hey, Red," the young boarder called out to Charlie, "I hear you're getting a new dad. Isn't your mama getting married?" "Yes, to Oldfield," the small boy told him. "Maybe things will be better for you," the boarder said. "I hear he's a member of the Baptist church. Surely he'll be nice to you." But things did not turn out for the better. Charlie's new stepdad, Oldfield Milner, was mean. Sometimes Charlie would be daydreaming when his stepdad would come stomping into the room. If Charlie did not jump away in time, he would get shoved. Oldfield would yell, "You're always in the way, you little yaller dog." As Charlie would cower in the corner, he listened as Oldfield screamed at his mama. Oldfield was a sharecropper, a worker who farmed for other people in exchange for crops, and the family moved constantly. Although Oldfield was a part of a church, he really lived in darkness. He was a witch doctor who would make concoctions and spells to cure people. He would sell his potions that he made out of roots, but when he got sick, he was unable to help himself. As Charlie walked by the window of the cabin, he could hear his stepdad coughing. Oldfield had not left his bed for days, and all his food had to be brought to him. He had been too sick lately to mix up any magic spells, but a sense of darkness and gloom still hovered all around. Within a few days, Oldfield died. Charlie's mother joined the Baptist church and took Charlie to church regularly. Charlie was 9 years old, and for the first time in his life, he saw a Bible. Soon after this, Charlie walked through the door of his family's new cabin. "Oh, Charlie," his mother called, "the most wonderful thing has happened. Someone is going to start a night school for you children." Charlie's face lit up with a smile. "Who, Mama?" he asked. His mother answered, "Miss Ada Dawson. You've seen her at church with her mama." Charlie felt a strange excitement. He was going to learn in a school. He could hardly wait. Charlie's life changed. He found that he loved school. Joshua. Miss Ada taught the students the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Not arithmetic, it's arithmetic. It's 3 R's, right? Before long, I never could quite figure that one out, especially when it's talking about school. Right. But anyways, and writing is W, so yeah. Before long, she started a Sunday school for her students, teaching the children to pray and love God. Charlie read the entire Bible through this year. Miss Ada was only 18 years old, but she brought bright light and happiness to Kingston, Georgia. One day, Charlie was sitting on a rock when his friend walked up. "Charlie, there you are with your nose in a book again. Do you really like to read that much?" "Oh, yes. It's almost like I'm hungry. I want to know more and more and more." Charlie's friend laughed good-naturedly and walked on down the dirt road. Charlie knew that everyone did not understand, but he loved school. The last 6 months had been the best in his life. The lights had turned on in his mind, and he wanted to know everything. Mainly, he wanted to know about God and how to get religion, as some people called it. Charlie loved God and prayed, but he did not know if he had religion or not. At this time, none of the people in the church tried to help him because they did not believe that children could be saved. Can you imagine? His feelings stayed locked down in his little heart. After a while, Charlie just gave up trying to find God. Miss Ada's school closed, but the seed she planted deep in his heart never went away. Think about that. Even though kids come and go, we never know. Amen. When Charlie was around 11, his mother married Barry Latimer, a wonderful man and a member of the Methodist Church. Gone was the terror of living with an evil man like Oldfield Milner. When Charlie was close to 17, his mother died. For a while, he stayed with his stepdad, but then he came to a decision. Charlie took his hand and wiped the tears from his eyes and tried to swallow the lump in his throat. He missed his mother. She had only been 31 when she died, but that was not unusual for a black woman. He sat with his head in his hands. All his life he had been held in check. Many times he had wished his mother and stepdad were not so strict. Why couldn't he do the things the other boys did? Well, now he could. He had been feeling restless for some time. He was 17. Why couldn't he just strike out on his own and find his own way? Yes, tomorrow morning, he thought, I'll leave the old home place. Then he shuddered a little. Could he make it? Where would this lead him? And we'll continue next week.